All right, Sean, and breaking right now, Warren Mayor Jim Fouts goes on the record. After shying away from cameras for months, the embattled mayor finally talks. But what happens when we ask about those controversial recordings about race, gender, and people with special needs? Thanks for being with us for the news at 5. Fouts agreed to speak to us today about his recordings of the State of the City address last night. It's the first time in the city's history that the address was not given live. Now,
we'll say at the outset, we made it clear that no questions were going to be off limits. We don't agree to conditions on interviews. Jermont Terry just finished speaking with him, and Jermont, the question that we knew was going to come up was about those tapes.
You're exactly right, Devin. I just stepped out of the mayor's office. I don't want to say that I was escorted out, but he was not happy when we started asking the questions about those tapes that have been circulating for many months now. Of course, as you know, Mayor Fouts has been somewhat hiding and/or not commenting about the tapes altogether publicly. He's made some comments on his Facebook page, but today, when we stepped into his office, he wanted to talk about the state of the city. We did talk about that, but first, we also wanted to know about his take on those tapes in question. Was that you on the tape?
No, that was not me on the tape. Well, that was a manufactured, engineered tape you can do it by Adobe software, you can do it by a number of things, and not only that, only my voice is identified in the tape, no one else is, and I'll give you two, wait a minute, let me answer the question.
We really want to hear from you at this point.
All right, two answers. Number one, I have the presumption of innocence, number one. Number two, I've already said that that is not my voice and that is a manipulated, manufactured tape. And number two, I have the right to confront my accuser, and no one has come forward.
Do you know who made the tape?
I have no idea, except I will remind you of this, okay,
yes,
Jermont? The tape was released by Mark Hackle one day after I filed a complaint with the Attorney General regarding the illegal cover-up of the illegal dumping of the landfill at Freedom Hill.
Now, back live here, we most definitely came to City Hall to talk about the State of the City address. And the mayor was under the assumption that we would only ask questions about that. But in all fairness and for clarity, we did talk to him for close to 10 minutes about the state of the city, where he talked about the economic development and also the economic growth going on in the city of Warren. Here's his take on the State of the City address.
We've got a lot of industrial development, investment in the city. That means it helps out taxes. It means more jobs. And so I'm very excited about this. And to give you examples of why we're number one, we surpassed the city of Detroit. And keep in mind, Detroit is 140-some square miles. They have 680,000 people. We only have 32 square miles, and we only have 138,000 people. So that's great news.
Now back here live on clickondetroit.com, we put a survey to our viewers and also on Facebook as to whether or not people felt if the mayor should have recorded that State of the City address or not. The results so far show that 89% of the people said that the mayor should not have recorded this. Again, this was the first time in the city's history that the State of the City was recorded. Only 11%, according to our survey, showed that they supported the mayor's decision to record and pre-tape that State of the City address. We're going to have much more, also our confrontation and/or interview with the mayor about those infamous tapes. We're going to have more on that coming up at 6 o'clock, and also have more on his comments and highlights of the State of the City address. For now, reporting live outside Warren City Hall, Jermont Terry, Local 4.
Well, Jermont, I'm curious about the mayor's defense for the idea of releasing a taped version of the State of the City address.
Well, he felt as if releasing the tape version was the only way that he could tout his accomplishments as mayor and what the city is doing without having any confrontation, without having any protest. Now, we came here to City Hall to talk about that, but as a journalist and as an outlet, we have to ask the questions that people in the city want to know. Was that him? And when we asked that question, Devin, you're going to hear more coming up at 6. The mayor took off the mic, tried to end the interview, but we most definitely kept pressing, and we're going to have more on that interview coming up on Local 4 News at 6.
All right, Jermont, we'll see you at 6 o'clock.